Welcome to Before the Pitch, where you can love New York baseball no matter what shade of blue you're wearing. I am Billy.
And I am Scott. Make sure you guys give us a like and a subscribe, maybe a comment down below, and be sure to follow us on Twitter. Billy, what are we talking about today?
Well, I don't know, but there was something pretty big floating around the internet today, and I don't know. I got a kick out of it. What do you think?
Okay, so what we're talking about is kind of a really important thing, very controversial, and here it is, this hat.
There it
I
is.
actually kind of like it.
Here's the thing. I love the fact that I want to hate it so much, but yet some part of me wants it.
It's a snapback, and it's the style that I wear. Also, that patch on the side, I am not going to take credit for that. However, if anyone knows our thumbnail logo and knows our secondary logo, I want to take credit for that. But I really want to buy it because I know it's going to piss people off.
It's a little familiar. That logo's just a little familiar, if I do say so myself. But no, something about it just I want to hate it so bad, but I just really can't. I just can't.
And the colors just go together really well.
It's something about it, and I wish people weren't so polarizing about these types of things, because it's New York baseball, man. That's
No matter what shade of blue you're wearing, and it's literally showing our shades of blue.
Yep.
They need to pay us for this. We
I also
designed that hat a long time ago.
Our intro designed that hat is what I'm gonna say. And personally, I love two paneled hat. I love when they use panels on hats. Back in the day, when they used to when the first Monster Energy hats started coming out, and you had just the M going up the one side of the hat.
Yeah.
I loved those hats. And for something about it, I love offset hats. I love panel hats. I love the use of the area on the hat, and not just slapping a logo in the middle of the hat and be that's good enough.
I agree. It's unique. It's different.
For sure. So I think we had a couple other things going on today besides for just the hat.
Really? I can't imagine.
So a couple things that were going on today, and let me pull it up really quick. So we had the cheating scandal part 18, I think we're on at this point. So the Boston Red Sox penalties came out, in case anyone doesn't know what part 18 of the cheating scandal is. Ken Rosenthal tweeted it out today. Loss of 2020 second round pick, ban of the replay operator. I'm not going to say his name because I don't think he really needs to have his name dropped in this. I think it's kind of cruel, honestly, to drop his name in this. Through the 2020 playoffs, he's been banned, and from the same job in 2021. So I don't know why they just didn't say through 2021. It's weird phrasing, and I feel like there's a reason that it's weirdly phrased, but honestly I can't figure out why it is. And then banning Alex Cora through the 2020 playoffs, but that was for the Astros conduct, not the Red Sox, which I found very interesting. But what are your thoughts on it? You are the Yankee fan. You are the ones that the Red Sox beat to get to that World Series. They were that historic run team. So what are your opinions of it?
Well, a couple things some ground rules I have to lay there. That is a historic Red Sox team, and if I'm going to lose to the Red Sox, I'd rather lose to a historic Red Sox team. I had kind of already swallowed my pride on that, and this just makes it worse. This just fills it up with so many more what ifs. Now, another ground level everyone has to get on board with is, I think a lot of people had an unrealistic expectation for what the punishment was to come. I think a lot of people were hoping for some lightning bolt from Mount Olympus. That was unrealistic from the beginning. This has to be in reference to what the Astros did in either two ways. One, you guys say they cheated like the Astros. It should be on par with the Astros. Or you could say it's not as bad as the Astros, so the punishment should be not as bad as the Astros. Either way, Astros are a reference, and in no way can you justify it really being worse than the Astros. With that being said, I have to digest this in two different ways. I have to talk about the Alex Cora part and then the everything else part. I'm going to talk about the Alex Cora part. He should have been suspended through the 2021 playoffs and here's why. One, he is linked to two, not one, two World Series winning cheating scandals. Two of them. And he's getting half the punishment AJ Hinch got. The reason why I say half is because AJ Hinch is suspended for 1 year. Now, obviously, in the hindsight of 2020, pun intended, it's kind of weird that his suspension goes through the 2020 season anyway. So if it gets canceled, weird stuff happened. But you don't know that at the time that happened. So life is weird. You kind of have to suck that one up. The difference is with Alex Cora is one, he's linked to two, not just one. And also, one of them, he was one of the prime actors. The other one was under his watch, like AJ Hinch. But the fact that this punishment is being made already under the knowledge that 2020 is either going to be shortened or suspended. So that makes it even look cheaper. So it makes it look like nothing's happening. You have to do it through 2021, in my opinion, because it has to affect a full baseball season. Because guess what? If baseball gets canceled in 2020, Alex Cora can go back to his job and not have skipped a beat, and there is no punishment. To me, there's something wrong with that. There's something wrong with the fact that he can go back unpunished and not skip a beat after this whole thing, after being accused twice. And second, because like you said, he's being punished for the Astros thing, not for the Red Sox thing. So he's only getting punished for half of what he did, which I don't understand. If you're linked to two things, you should get punished for both or have a punishment harsh enough for both. I do not understand why this is only 1 year. The second thing I'm going to use that wording as like my segue, the thing that's only for Houston, because this whole thing is one giant, everybody remember Houston? They specifically said Houston. I would guarantee just to throw them as a scapegoat under the bus. Am I angry at Houston cheated? Yes. Do I think Houston cheated in 2019? Yes. But I have to call things the way they are. Houston is a clear scapegoat for a larger issue that I will not be surprised if the Yankees participated in. To the level that they did, no. I think maybe the Yankees probably not so much because some of their players have been vocal about how much they're displeased with the Astros. So it's kind of like, why would you open your mouth if you had something to hide? So maybe, I don't know. But I would not be surprised to find out if the Yankees or the Mets or the majority of teams in all baseball had some similar thing going on.
Though I do have to say, if the Mets were cheating, they were doing a god-awful job at it because they were too bad to be cheating. Maybe not last year, but like the years prior, like we were way too bad to be cheating. That's all I'm going to say.
But by using that wording and saying we're punishing for the Houston thing, not the Boston thing, is once again trying to direct attention to Houston to throw this one under the rug, which is consistent with the idea of really singling out that poor instant replay guy. Because you mean to tell me this whole thing, it's the instant replay guy is the reason why a whole team won a world championship. While it comes across very cover-up-y. I'm not upset because I do not think it's harsh enough, because I wasn't expecting a harsh thing. What I was expecting is it to look at least like there was effort put into this. This does not look like there was effort put into this. This once again confirms my tinfoil hat theory that Manfred did not find evidence of 2019 because he didn't look. He did not find evidence of the Yankees in the whole 2017 thing with the Apple Watches because he didn't look. He did not find a lot of information about the 2018 Red Sox because he didn't look. Because he doesn't want to look. Because once he does, he opens Pandora's box. So now he could march on into collective bargaining agreements, look at Tony Clark and say, Mike Fiers blew this whistle. Actually, you could say the Athletic blew it because the report is that Mike Fiers actually said that a couple years ago before Athletic actually got a hold of it. Look how much I covered up for you. Look how much of an a-hole I look like because I was covering for all of you. So you owe me in this collective bargaining agreement. This is a negotiation tactic because the baseball is the mafia. And this whole punishment really, really supports that, in my opinion. Because you have the Alex Cora thing, which essentially says, look at Houston. Nothing to see here. And then you have the whole making this poor replay guy the scapegoat. He's not a player. He's not a player. I tell you one thing: if you're the instant replay guy, and then if I instant replay, and the whole team comes in, they say, "Hey, we're doing this." What do? You really don't have much power over that. Of course, he could have reported it. You could say that. I'm not saying the guy should not be punished in any way. What I'm saying is no one else is getting punished. Not even the manager who this happened under, who had a history of doing this, is getting punished for it. That random guy who you don't even know and you probably didn't even know was in the ballpark and existed, you're blaming that dude for all this and nothing for the players? Here's a rug. Sweep everything fucking under it right now. That's how I feel about that. I just want it to look like there was effort put into it. None of it looks like there was effort put into it. It looks like more of a cover-up. And I was someone who reacted to the Astros stuff. I did not think it was fantastically handled, but for a while, I'm like, it's not the worst thing in the world. This has made it even worse because nothing happened. Think about this. Right now, in 2021, everyone can go back to their old jobs. Like nothing happened.
Except for that guy.
Huh?
Except for that guy.
Except for that guy. And except the GM for Houston.
Yeah.
Luhnow. Other than that, actually, as you know, he's only a year too. But still, I'll even give more of a leeway to AJ Hinch getting his job back or getting a job in 2021 because that was made before Corona was a thing. That's just dumb luck, dumb timing, whatever. I'll give more leeway to that. But with Alex Cora, all the conditions and stipulations were already in play. And still the response is, look over there at Houston. That's bull.
No, I think you make a lot of valid points and all of that. I think my biggest issue is, what is the punishment for Alex Cora determined by the fact that he has already been removed of his position from the Boston Red Sox? Did the MLB look at it and be like, did he deserve more than 1 year of a suspension? Well, I don't know, maybe, probably, but you know what? He already lost his job. Is that part of it? And if it is, that's an even bigger issue in my opinion, because you shouldn't be looking at, well, this guy lost his job, so we're gonna give him a lesser sentence. No, that's not how this works. Now, the other thing that you can argue, I guess, from the other perspective of Cora's punishment is, well, if you're going to give him an equal sentence to AJ Hinch, well, then Corona shouldn't affect it because of the fact that he wouldn't, the same amount of time for the same punishment, not double jeopardy on him. Not doubling down on a harsher penalty because something out of everyone's control is affecting the issue. My thing is, this is April 22nd, right now. If Alex Cora was the manager of the Boston Red Sox, we'd be a month into the season already. Why did this just come out now?
Especially when they said a long time ago, it's coming next week, it's coming next week, it's coming next week.
And then it came 2 months later. So, I have much bigger issues with the fact that this information only came out now and not like a couple weeks after the Astros penalties, because this this is interpreted as a punishment that is fitting of a lesser crime than what the Astros did. I think we can agree on that. So if you're taking it on face value and saying that, if we're judging the punishments equally, what the Astros did is significantly worse. And I think you and I, based on the information we had at the time, had both agreed that what the Astros did is significantly worse than what the Red Sox did. Is that still hold true?
Yes, and to clarify, the reason why we think the Astros have it a little bit worse is because one, the Astros strategy was could be used at any point during the game, really. And the Red Sox ones only could be used with a guy at second base. So if you use that more often, and also I think the worst part is this makes Cora a repeat offender.
Yes.
So if anything, it has to be focused on him because he's the common thread that goes through this whole thing.
Instead, like you said, you chose the replay guy who, in my opinion, is a failed management from the MLB to not monitor these replay rooms. You know, how is the MLB, knowing that instant replay is being used, knowing that there is a phone that literally links teams to the replay room, how is the MLB not monitoring this stuff? How is there not a camera in the room that watches what this guy is doing? Or watches what the teams are doing? Are there players walking into the room? Are there coaches walking into the room? How is there none of this?
Because they didn't care.
Because they didn't want to see it. And it goes back to your point of it feels like this is all just getting swept under the rug because there are so many things. You know, you talk about the precedents, and we talked about them ourselves being like, well, Manfred put out these warnings to teams about using technology progressively over the last few years, getting harsher and harsher and harsher, but yet you didn't do the simple things to make sure the tools that were being used weren't being used in a negative manner.
And when you say harsher and harsher and harsher, it didn't get harsher.
No, I
do not think this looks harsh.
No, I'm not talking about the penalties. I'm talking about like the guidelines of like what technology could be used for getting harsher.
Okay.
Just to clarify that a little bit. But and they progressively got harsher from like 2017 to now, where he put down like stricter, more specific guidelines. And I'm like, if you're making these guidelines knowing that technology is an issue, knowing that these replay rooms are an issue, how do you not basically shove an MLB employee in those rooms and make sure that coaches aren't walking in, players aren't walking in, some random guy isn't walking, the janitor's not walking in and then going to the dugout, like with a piece of paper to relay like information? Like, I don't know, like, you know, there's all this technology, you know it's being used in a way that isn't proper, and you do nothing to even curb the act of using the technology. All you did is tell the teams, like, police yourselves. And I'm sorry, when you're in a competitive world, policing yourselves doesn't work unless the other guy's throwing at you.
And they already said
yeah, go ahead. They already said, like, don't do that. They don't want that in the game. And players themselves are like, I don't want to get thrown at, so I don't want my pitchers throwing at anybody. You know, like, these are what players are saying. This is what the MLB's saying to players about throwing at each other and policing the game. But you know what? That's the way that this shit used to not happen. And I'm not calling for guys to get thrown at. Please don't think that that's what my argument is. My argument is, though, when you ask people to police themselves, there will be rule breakers. And there will be people who decide that, like, that one just doesn't really pertain to us. You know, they're not really rule breakers, but they're certainly not following it strictly. And I think a lot more teams were on we're not following it that strictly than what the Astros did, to the point where it's like, no, we're just breaking the rules.
Mm-hmm. I think what the Astros did is I think there's an arrogance to how obvious it was. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like you didn't even hide it.
No, and
fans didn't know about it, but players figured it out a while ago. You didn't even hide it, and there was an arrogance about it.
Mm-hmm.
And for Boston, this even happens after that. So it's like Boston had no excuse to do this again, especially when Alex Cora, of all people, you would think would have known that.
But then again, this goes back to the MLB not policing it properly, because teams had reported it and no one was called on their shit. And if you're not getting called on your shit, you're just getting away from it. It's like someone who like gets in a powerful role in their job or something like that, and then ends up like stealing money from their partner, right? Or like, you go into business with a partner, and then they end up stealing money from them. It's like, well, they got away with a little bit, and then they just take more and more and more and more until all of a sudden you're bankrupt, and nobody knows why except for that guy.
And we got into this hole because the Athletic got a hold of Mike Fiers. Was Jonathan Lucroy said there was a big question, why didn't he tell us sooner? Jonathan Lucroy said, nah, he told us sooner. We reported it. MLB didn't care. It took a news outlet to get a hold of it, to announce it to the world before anything happened. So police yourself. You failed at MLB. You failed on that front. And I'll give you one further. This is going to sound awful, and I'm going to back this up with what you just said. I am not calling for people to get hit, but another front to reason why Rob Manfred is protecting the Astros from getting hit is right now a lot of people were watching highlights from a baseball game in Taiwan. Want to know why? Because there was a fight in the middle of the field. I'm not saying people should hit the Astros. I'm not saying I'm not encouraging anyone to hit the Astros. I don't want people to get hurt like that. But Rob Manfred is so stupid
that's what's going to happen.
That he pissed people off even more, and he's discouraging something that's going to put eyeballs on the game. Maybe not for the best reason. I don't know. But how many times what he did to take away the ability for players to police themselves is hurting the game on a couple fronts. Because now you're letting people get away with it, and now you're taking the eyeballs off the game of the people who want to see how are they going to get back at them. You don't even have to tell them to do it. That's not what I'm saying. And I know it sounds awful. I'm not calling for people to get hit, but I'm saying that's just another way Manfred hung himself with his own tongue.
Yeah, you're right, because he took the issue out of control of the players because he didn't want players taking punishment into their own hands, which I understand.
I agree with that too.
I think that's a fair argument, but
especially when we were talking about 90+ mile an hour objects, that hurts and that causes damage. That's why I'm not calling for people to get hit.
Yeah, the careers have been ended by that. And you know what? People's lives have been put in danger because of that. And that's not something that you want to see ever. And I understand Manfred wanting to take that part of the game away. And, you can be the old man yelling at the sky, but that's not the way we play the game. It's like, but that's not the way you should play the game. And I truly believe that. Like, deliberately trying to hurt somebody because you didn't like something they did is not the right way to play the game. And I will stand by that. But you know what? When the MLB refuses to enforce rules and guidelines and, gentlemen's agreements between teams, basically, of being like, hey, we're not going to do this anymore, and other teams start to take advantage of that, and the MLB decides we're not punishing anybody, we're sweeping it under the rug, we don't want it to look bad on our game, we don't want negative comments about baseball. When all of that starts happening, you're gonna get back well, I'm policing it myself now, because they're not. And that's the issue. You take on the responsibility of making sure that things are done the right way, and you don't make sure that things are done the right way, well, guess what? You look twice as bad than if you just let them handle it on their own.
I think the most important of what you just said is that last sentence is if you don't... But what he did is the exchange is, you guys don't do it because I'll take care of it. And he did not follow up on that. I talk about Manfred. He did not follow up on his end of the bargain. So MLB is going to say, screw your bargain. We're doing this crap ourselves.
And you know what? To quote one of our favorite movies, with great power comes great responsibility. And guess what? You took the power, but you didn't take the responsibility.
No. And now we're gonna add the other question is, this is a topic that was going around. Will the Yankees have a fight with the Astros?
No.
I'm gonna say no, and the reason why is because CC Sabathia is not there to start it. I do not think anyone else on the Yankees would start it.
There's
Some
one
people, some
guy.
people said, what about? Some people said, what about Chapman?
No,
Here's
that's
why
not
it's-
even the guy I'm thinking about.
No, all right. Chapman will not do it because that just makes him look salty.
Because
That's
of
going to
the
make him
home run.
look worse because of the home run. That nothing cheated, even though I think that whatever, but that's not important because it happened to him. That will make him look salty. He's not going to put himself into that situation because he's kind of a tough guy. Sabathia is the one. Sabathia is the one who would actually initiate conflict. I do not think Brett will initiate it. I do think if he is given a crack in the door, he will come bursting through like the Kool-Aid man, and that's the difference. So he could say he did not technically start it.
Who was it? Do you remember? I want to say in 18 with the Red Sox. Was it Tyler Austin?
Tyler Austin, yeah.
The slide into second base. I could very easily see Gardner being the type of guy that takes that type of slide into Altuve or Correa, and they say something to him, and him just like he did it on purpose, so he had an excuse.
Dude. So, see, I was thinking this conflict is going to come in the form of a hit by a pitch. That now you're putting it to another part of the field, which I had not been thinking about.
Because let's be honest,
does he make the dirty slide before someone says something, or does he keep his ear extra open for something to hear something as an excuse for a dirty slide, or does he not slide dirty, but it's not necessarily clean, but it's just enough to instigate something?
Well, that's
but
why
he's not technically wrong, and you can look at the replay and say there's technically nothing wrong with it, but even though it's kind of
it's
douchey.
like that's why I bring up the Tyler Austin thing, because isn't that exactly what happened? Where it wasn't exactly clean, but by the letter of the law, there was nothing wrong with it. So, with that said, do you think that there are other teams who are more likely to police it over the Yankees specifically? Because the Yankees, as we've talked about before, just kind of look salty doing that.
I think because the Yankees have the probably the biggest reason to do something, they will be put under the microscope so tight that I think they would take the I in whole think they would take the extra effort to not give anyone a reason to say that they were trying to start something to kind of protect their image. That is a very Derek Jeter-esque way to do it, and we see Aaron Judge be a very Derek Jeter-esque person.
Yeah, but I kind of like the
way.
A-Rod way. I kind of rather have the A-Rod way.
God.
See,
I'm not saying I don't want the Royal Rumble. I'm just saying I don't want my guys to get in trouble for it.
But, like, here's the thing, too. I also feel like you don't want to be the team that gets Jose Batista'd.
Yeah.
You know, where, like, you picked the fight, but he finished it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you don't want to be that guy either. So if you're going to pick a fight, you have to make sure that it's the right fight. Like, you need to go Amir Garrett on the Pittsburgh Pirates type of fight. As a matter of fact, a day or two ago, John Boy did an interview with Trevor Williams where they were talking about this exact fight with Amir Garrett. So, what happened was, after Amir started charging, Trevor was saying that there was this moment, right, where he just, in his head, as this was all going on, he just goes, oh shit, he did it. Like, because he didn't think he was gonna do it. Like they all knew that, like, there was tension and that it was kind of going on, and, like, they're all kind of, like, yelling at the ump, being like, don't let him do anything stupid. Like, basically being like, get the ump to stop this right now. And as Amir Garrett starts running towards the dugout, Trevor Williams has this moment of like, oh shit, he did it. And then like it's like you have that moment where it's like, well, he did it, I gotta do it, and you man up. And I don't use that, like, I don't really like that phrase of like manning up, because like, I don't know, it's just a weird phrase to me. But there's this moment where it's like, yeah, the Astros are gonna be on edge. The Astros are going to man up in a sense, and if someone challenges them, they can't back down. Because they're the ones who tainted their careers. They're the ones that have their names being dragged through the mud. The last thing they need is to look weak when someone challenges them. So when you choose to make your stand against them and be like, you're gonna pay for this, and I'm not saying it happens, because it very well might not. I don't know, but the way a lot of players are talking about this, it would be very, I'm not going to say disappointing, because I don't want to see people fighting on a baseball field all the time, but it would almost be anticlimactic if they don't actually challenge the Astros at some point. And the Astros, when that happens, are going to have that Trevor Williams moment of, oh shit, it's time to go. And they're going to fight back. And you either have you look like a monster in Amir Garrett, where you just take on the entire dugout at once, which I thought was one of the most hilariously and like, damn moments of last season. Like, that was impressive in a way that really shouldn't have been impressive in baseball. Or you get the Jose Bautista moment where you slide in, you challenge him, and he just puts you on the ground. Because if that happens, how bad do you look?
It's so I'm going to add to that with like two pieces. One, now, with a light punishment to the Red Sox, do the Red Sox also become a target for that exact same behavior? My second part is, the other team that has a reason to do that is the Los Angeles Dodgers. And they have a reason to go after the both of them.
Yeah. Dude, the Dodgers... Do the Dodgers play the Yankees? Or not the Yankees, I'm sorry. Do the Dodgers play the Red Sox this year?
I do not know the answer to that.
Because that would be a very interesting dynamic.
And then here's what makes that dynamic even crazier. Mookie Betts is on the Dodgers.
And so is David Price.
So many wild things with that.
That is something that I found so interesting. That it's like, how do you stand in that clubhouse with those players and they know you did something, but they don't really know what? Do you just have to come clean in that moment? Because I feel like you do. Like I feel like you have to be like, okay, this is what happened. I will, if you guys have any questions, if you guys have anything you have to say to me right now, like, let's do it now. Let's get it straightened out and let's move on, because this is not going to affect us this year. I feel like you have to do that.
I have to believe Garrett Cole told the Yankees some stuff. Also,
yeah, that's another interesting one.
On the agreement, I genuinely do think the Yankees are, at least the important people on the Yankees, are classy enough to just take whatever Garrett gives him and bury the hatch in some way and say, we promise we won't use that to our advantage in any sketchy way. I would have to think Garrett would, and the reason why is because he's locked in here for 9 years. He's here. He's not going anywhere. He's here for 9 years.
But
he's going to say, listen, this is contractually going to be my family for the next 9 years of my life. The bulk of Garrett Cole's career will be as a New York Yankee. If he does fantastic and he goes to the Hall of Fame as a Yankee, or he will be a disaster like the Yankee, his legacy now will be tied to the New York Yankees, Garrett Cole, no matter what legacy that winds up being, if there is a legacy.
For sure.
He has to take that step I assume he took that step and said, boom, here's what it is. And I also do feel like when I see people with leadership, like Aaron Boone or Aaron Judge, are classy enough in that way to say, we accept this information you give us. We have the closure in that regard. We're not going to make you look like an ass. We're not going to make ourselves do that. I think they're classy enough to do that. I don't think the Dodgers are classy enough to do that.
That's interesting. But you know what? The Mets deal with it too, in a way. Like, not to the extremes, because they never actually competed against the Astros or the Red Sox in the playoffs or anything like that. But you know what? There were players on the Mets who felt like their careers were altered based on things that happened in Houston during the 17 season. One of those players being a player like Seth Lugo, a guy that is incredibly valuable to the Mets, a guy that is incredibly talented for the Mets. He feels, and he's basically said as much, that if it wasn't for something that happened in Houston revolving around the trash cans, he would probably be a starting pitcher in the MLB right now, not a relief pitcher. That is an extremely large amount of money that he would be making as a starting pitcher instead of a relief pitcher. I don't care how good you are. He is still under arbitration. You do not make as much money in arbitration as a relief pitcher as you do a starting pitcher. Even an average starting pitcher to a above average relief pitcher. The starter will always make more money in these things. And so now you're talking about a guy that was affected monetarily by these events, and you have two players on the Mets who were former Astros in the forms of Jason Marisnick and JD Davis. Now, JD Davis has probably had his, he was here for a year, he earned his spot on this team. He was a big part of the reason why the Mets were relatively successful last year in terms of having a much improved season last year. He was a big part of that. So I think he's kind of resolved a lot of those issues, though there may be some things he has to answer for, but he also wasn't a big part of that Astros team. Marisnick, on the other hand, was a big part of those Astros teams.
And it's a dude who already has a little bit of stank following him after running over Jonathan Lucroy.
Yeah, and so, when you get players like that where it's like they feel they've been affected by it, and then you have these players coming into these teams, it's like you wonder, what were those conversations like? Now, we're never going to know, but you can't imagine it's good for the team. So it's like you have Astros players who have left the Astros affecting other teams around the league now because of this happening, and now you have to start asking the same questions about the Red Sox.
And he might now, George Springer could be a free agent at the end of this year. I think the Astros should sign him. I feel like George Springer should be praying on his knees that the Astros give him the money he wants to keep him. Imagine if he goes somewhere crazy.
Do you think... Now, this is interesting, right? Do you think
take him?
No.
The Mets should take him. The Mets should take him.
Yeah, probably.
Our good friend James Christopher from the Let's Get To podcast, who is an Astros fan. Great guy, great friend. You guys should all be following his Twitter and his podcast. He thinks A.J. Hinch is going to wind up being the manager of the Mets in 2021. Story for another time. I'm just throwing that out there because he thinks they're going to wind up with him and probably wind up with Springer. That's just his thing.
Well, the only thing I'll say about this is Brody and Hinch are like tight.
And that's what he's saying. He brought that up too.
Yeah, like they are buddies. Like, there were rumors in the off season about like Hinch being traded to the Mets, which would have been wild to begin with, and then all of this happened and yada yada. We'll save that for a whole nother video about speculating on the 2021 season after we see what happens with this season and the coronavirus and all of that. But when it comes into the Astros affecting these other teams, I wonder if when these players hit free agency, the new GM of the Astros will use it as leverage to keep players that are very talented on a very cheap salary, indirectly keeping the Astros a successful organization while keeping them at a lower cost, because how many teams are going to be out there being like, well, we still really don't know what happened in Houston, so how much can I trust the numbers?
And his other negotiation tactic that he could use is, I'm offering you safety.
I'm offering you safety, and I'm like, you'll never have to answer another question about this, at
Yeah.
least from our team. On
Yeah.
top of that, it's like he can offer just a little bit more than teams that are like questioning the legitimacy of these players.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, if these players are not going to be pursued like, the Garrett Coles of the world, the Bryce Harpers of the world, like, if they're not being pursued on that level from all the other teams in the majors because of what happened in Houston, well, then Houston can just be like, well, we're offering you a little bit more. Like, say teams won't offer Springer next season more than like $100 million, right? Mm-hmm. Still a large contract, but you know what? The Astros could come in and be like, I offer you safety and $110 million. It's still a relatively team-friendly contract because of the quality of a player he is. And I almost wonder, in some weird, twisted way, if this is going to work out better for the organization than it ever should have. And it comes back to the whole conversation again of the punishment wasn't harsh enough, and it's all these little things that keep sprinkling out. And it's like, you start thinking about, our team's going to start challenging the Astros on the field, and our player's going to get hurt. And then, because the punishment wasn't harsh enough, and then you talk about the fact, well, yeah, okay, you took around first-round draft picks, but how many first-round draft picks actually make it to the major leagues? The Astros are good at scouting to begin with. We all know this. That's been proven regardless of the cheating scandal. They've been proven to be very good scouts and understand how to develop players. And so their farm system is strong. So yeah, it's going to hurt them 10 years from now, maybe. And that's saying that they don't succeed in finding second and third and fourth round diamonds in the rough, and also making proper trades to acquire prospects. This is a team that, no matter what you want to say, has a smart front office, so I don't think that's going to hurt them as much. They needed to hit them where it hurts most, and where it hurts teams the most is in their wallets, and that's not what they did. They find them, but they didn't touch the money that allows them to operate as an organization. They didn't put a salary cap on them. They didn't limit their, international signing money. They didn't limit the amount of money they have to sign, like, prospects they draft. Like, they didn't touch any of that. And that's what they needed to do if you really wanted to make a statement and be like, you can't do this. Because, yeah, it doesn't look sexy to the fans that, oh, you're hitting international signing money. It's like, yeah, but if you want to hurt the organization as a whole, those are the things you needed to do. Because that's where the GM sits there and goes, oh, fuck, how do I build a team now?
And keep in mind, we're not just saying this for the Astros, we're saying for the Red Sox also. So for anyone listening, we're saying Red Sox also.
Yeah,
this applies to what we're talking about.
I still say to a lesser extent, but
yeah, that's fair.
But those are the things they needed to do. It's like, oh, the Red Sox lost 1 second-round draft pick. The Red Sox don't have a farm system to begin with, so what does it matter? And guess what? If we don't play baseball this year, the Red Sox made one of the best trades all offseason.
Hey, that's all we got for you guys today. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter. And we have some more videos that we really hope you guys come and check out. We hope you enjoyed this one. I got nothing else, Billy.
Nah, sounds good to me. We'll catch you later. Like Scott said, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, whatever social media you want to check it out. Check out the podcast live on iTunes and Spotify. And you know what? There's always going to be some random videos floating around on here, so check them out if you like them. We got MLB expansion. We talked all sorts of Astros cheating. We've just stream of consciousness. If you're into that, there's some of that up here. But yeah, check it all out.
And the podcast on iTunes is a phenomenal thing that we're doing. We're partnered with our third member, Coach Chris, who runs an entire youth organization, youth baseball organization. He does fantastic things, and that's a little bit more directed towards things you could watch with your kids, and we try to relate things more to little league or to high school baseball. We really recommend you check that out because that is actually different content than you are going to get on the YouTube channel.
For sure. So check us all out. If you got any questions for us, comment, subscribe, DM us, whatever you want. Just hit the like button.